I've said it once, I'm going to say it again. Enough with football games in baseball stadiums.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black. I'm the editor of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network, and your host here on this great daily Boston College podcast that's free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, today's show, it's New Year's. Happy New Year's, everybody. Happy 2025. I'm going to give you some predictions I have about BC football heading into next season. I'm going to talk about the opt-out situation that kind of crippled Boston College and why I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I understand where people are coming from. And finally, we're going to kick things off with me ranting about baseball stadiums because I am done with them. So Boston College had 2 straight seasons, have played bowl games in messy conditions in baseball stadiums. Last year, the Fenway Bowl at SMU, it was rainy, it was disgusting. This year, it was at the Pinstripe Bowl against Nebraska. It was rainy, it was disgusting. This point of this conversation, I'm going to say this right off the bat, it has nothing to do whether they won or lost. I don't care because I'm going to get Nebraska fans in my comment section saying, "Oh, you're just saying that because you lost." No, it's not because I lost. That BC lost. It's because I hate watching football games in baseball stadiums. There are multiple things that I think are just gross about these games. First of all, you guys all wanted more of your players to play. You wanted to see more BC players out there. You want to see less opt-outs. How about playing in a stadium that's A, warm, B, that doesn't rain all the time, and C, has a proper drainage? Because my one play that sticks out in my head in this game is probably Victor Nelson blocking that punt. But second behind that is Jeremiah Franklin just catching, I think it was like a 7-yard catch, and then sliding for 5 yards through like he was on a slip and slide. These stadiums are dangerous for players. We saw Drew Kendall make it 6 plays before he decided, nope, I'm out of here. The baseball stadiums are made for baseball. The views aren't all that great. You're watching in cold, disgusting weather. The field itself is torn to shreds because it's not meant for this. And you get sloppy football games. And that's why I think I would, if I could die tomorrow and BC, if BC never makes another bowl game that has a baseball stadium attached to it, I will die a happy man. Give me the Gasparilla Bowl. Give me the Birmingham Bowl or the First Responders Bowl or Ford Field or whatever. I don't care. I am so done with these bowl games there. It's in the thing that bothers me most is if BC continues to play 7-5 football, what 2 bowls are going to want them the most? It's the Pinstripe Bowl and the Fenway Bowl, because that's where a lot of Boston College graduates are. Now, from what I've heard, the Pinstripe Bowl was majority Nebraska fans because BC fans didn't even travel to this. So the BC hopefully did not do themselves any favors to have to go back to this bowl again. Hopefully the baseball gods at Yankee Stadium are seeing, oh, all these other teams with fan bases, they really want to see a bad football game in front of, in terrible conditions and terrible weather. So I don't know. This is my soapbox. And it's not just the Pinstripe Bowl. If you watched, and God bless you if you did, the UConn UNC Bowl game, there was one part of the field where they could not even get a correct lineage with their camera. Instead, you saw the pesky pole right in front of the screen. It looked like a giant first down line, and it was blocking everything you could see. And I don't remember that last year with BC, but whatever the issue was this year, they couldn't fix it because it was going on for a long time. Now, Mitch Wolf, who was on our show yesterday, he does our game film. He does what's called an all 22, which is 11 offense, 11 defense. You could see the entire field. That's how he does his film reviews. He sent me a picture last night. His all 11 also has a giant foul pole right in the middle because guess what? These stadiums are made for baseball. I don't know. If you guys like it, I get it, but what is so enjoyable? I mean, other than going to New York, which I get is fun, like New York in the holidays, that part I would totally get. Like, I'd love to go to Rockefeller Center and see see the Rockettes or whatever. That piece is cool. Other than that, what is it about this game that is interesting? You're paying $150 a ticket, some people, to sit in drizzling cold rain. And this is not the first time this has happened. Remember the last time BC played at the Pinstripe Bowl? It was a different type of crappy weather when BC had to play on basically roller skates because AJ Dillon couldn't run. They didn't have the right uh, equipment to do it. And they ended up playing in sneakers because Yankee Stadium turned into an ice rink. So you get all that. I think maybe I'm just where I'm at with all this stuff. I'm almost done with the Military Bowl too. Like, it's the end of December. Why are there bowl games in non dome stadiums in the Northeast? These are supposed to be enjoyable experiences for the fan bases that follow these teams and the teams that play there. You got teams that get to go to Tempe, California, Florida. Let's move these bowls back. I don't know how much longer the Pinstripe Bowl and the Fenway Bowl have in terms of their uh, affiliations with the ACC, but my gosh, I hope Jim Phillips. He's going to get a lot of points with me. Is when those contracts end. If they say, "See ya, go to the AAC and have those games there," because I don't know, folks. Like, I warned you ahead of time before this game. I was like, anytime you play up here, this time of year, it's miserable. And I'm talking more to, for everything, whether the players, they're risking injury every time they go out there because it's just, you could tweak an ankle, you could blow a knee, you can get all sorts of injuries on that field because it's not as safe as when playing on like turf, like Alumni Stadium. It's just a mess. So that was my 2 cents on this. I wanted to give you my thoughts on baseball stadiums. I'm done with them. And if BC gets to a bowl game next year, I hope to God it's not Fenway Bowl. It won't be the Pinstripe Bowl because they won't take them 2 years in a row. And given how it sounds like their attendance wasn't great, I don't think they would ask BC for a couple of years anyways. But let's get someplace warm. Thanks. In a moment, I'm going to talk about opt-outs because that was another big issue that came out from this game. I'll look at some of the names that popped up, talk about what I thought about these opt-outs and how BC in the future may be able to change all of that. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff games is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of past playoff games and can't wait to make new memories with the updated format and extra teams involved. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I used Game Time Picks to find tickets for an upcoming BC game. Browsing through the deals was super easy, and I found great value for all kinds of seats around the venue. The Super Deal in particular stood out as the best value for the event. I love that I could see the seat views before buying, and that app shows the total cost upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, the on-time ticket delivery and lowest price guarantee gave me complete peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off your purchase. Terms again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. When you're done with this episode, check out Locked On College Football for your second listen. It's a great podcast with Spencer McLaughlin with so much going on in college football. He's got so much to discuss every single day. It's a great second listen. Check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, BC. When we had Mitch on the other day, we discussed at length the biggest reason that they lost this game was that they lost in the trenches. And part of that, most of that, was that a good chunk, four-fifths of the offensive line was out, three out of five's opting out, and two out of four starting defensive linemen, also opted out of this game. It was a huge loss for Boston College, and it was really the game changer here because they just didn't have the guns to match up with Nebraska. So one of the biggest names that popped up that I think a lot of folks were surprised on, because we had talked to, I mean, if you've listened to this podcast, I told you mid-October that BC made a bowl game, Donovan Ezeraka wasn't going to play. And Ozzie Trapillo, also not a surprise. But the bigger surprise was Jack Conley, an offensive lineman. He's a versatile offensive lineman that played tackle and guard, played mostly guard this year. He opted out. And I think there were a lot of folks that were really upset with this because you go back and you look at what Jack Conley did and didn't do at BC. You started off in 2022. He struggled a lot that year. That was a really, really rough year for him. Jeff Hafley and Matt Applebaum found a use for him last year in 2023 when he became like basically their third tight end. And he did some guard work and he was much, much improved. Still struggled at times and, he had his limitations, but he still, he was valuable and he could do what he could do. Same thing this year. He was all ACC honorable mention, which is a great achievement for a guy that just a couple of years ago was a lot of folks were really worried that he would have to play and you wouldn't want to have him out there. So he took a lot of growth. He grew quite a bit in 2 years. Well, he opted out. And so folks are complaining. They're like, Jack Conley, why does he earn the right to opt out? And I say this about him, and I'll say this about anybody. I don't care who it is. Honestly, if Kai Robichaux thought he was going to get drafted and he wanted to opt out, go for it. Because the way that the NFL works, the way that the draft works, is if you miss the combine or the pro days or anything that would help draft scouts catch you and see where you could fall in their draft rankings, it's going to cost you money. And I look at what BC had, guys like Ezeraka, he's going to be first or second day. Ozzie Trapillo, probably firmly second day. Drew Kendall, probably second day. You get some guys that are definitely there. A guy like Jack Conley, he desperately needs to have a pro day. He desperately needs to get in front of scouts in order to try to affirm his spot on an NFL team. He's fringe, right? He's not a guy that a lot of folks think of as an NFL caliber player, and I get it. But he's 6'7", 300 pounds. If you talk to Mitch Wolf, who's on our show a lot, one thing he looks at is, do they have the frame and the body type to be an NFL player? 6'7", 300 plus pounds definitely says that. So if he can wow some scouts, we're talking a guy that could slip onto some NFL teams. Now, if Conley, going back to our first segment, goes onto that mush and blows out his knee, which Drew Kendall was dangerously close doing. I mean, he got hit. Mitch has the tape, and it looked bad. Like, I'm glad he opted out after that. But if you look at that, the odds of getting hurt are exponentially increased to play in the Pinstripe Bowl. And I know all of you really, really want to win that game, but let's take a step back from being a fan for a second and look at how things probably look through the eyes of like Jack Conley and his family. And I'm only guessing how they felt. Yes, you may be able to play and you may be able to win that Pinstripe Bowl game, but you also have a giant risk that your future is jeopardized. If Jack Conley goes out there and hurts his knee and misses pro day, he has no chance of getting onto an NFL team. He has no chance of slipping into a camp. His career's done. So I don't know. The one thing that Bill O'Brien did a good job of over the last month is hiding the which players we're going to play and which we're going to opt out. You go over all the press conferences he did. He was asked quite a few times, and he dodged it every single time. So we don't know when Jack Conley opted out. Based off of the comments that Bill said, some of the things about this is the 2025 preview, you can see a lot of new faces out there. I lean more towards he knew about this all along. You look at the pictures of because practices were closed again. He went down that halfway route and just decided to close the practices so no one knew what was going on. If you look at those, Conley is nowhere. I don't believe I ever saw him in any of those pictures. And I think they did that with like basically every senior except for Kai Robichaux. He was the only one I could pick out at some of those picks. So I'm not sure he was ever there. They had one picture like 2 or 3 days before the game where it was the offensive line, and I'm almost 100% sure Conley was not in that. So he probably knew early. I'm guessing he knew. And so I go back to, if they know, they could plan around it. They were going to get the guys going that need to go for that type of play, for that type of position. They're going to have to do that. So, you know what? I get it. I get the upset. Like people who get upset. Like I had someone message me that they're like, I spent $150 to go to this game to basically see BC's B team. That's the world that college football's in right now. I mean, you can hate the player, but hate the game. The game is what's the issue right now. These players have no, other than wanting to rah-rah for their teammates, there is no incentive for them to play if they're going to the NFL next year. Look at what Cam Ward just did. Cam Ward went in basically only to break a record for himself. You know, we talked about him for like weeks, and the only reason he played was to play for himself. Colorado, they did something different where they placed insurance policies on each. And if BC is up for putting Lloyd's of London insurances on every player that's draft eligible, maybe that's the solution. I don't know how, I'm not in the insurance game. I don't know how expensive those things are. Lloyd's of London just sounds expensive to me, so I'm assuming it's expensive. But if the Bulls want this, maybe they chip in too. Like, you know, these Bulls, as part of their payout, part of their what's going on with, you know, how much they're putting out there, is that they're putting down, or the ABC is putting down a chunk to protect these players. Because, you know, if you want to pay Jack Conley a little bit, maybe he'll change his mind. I am not, on the other hand, someone asked me about this too. Should NIL deals be include the bowl games too? And I don't know the language of NIL deals. I don't think anyone does. It's the Wild West out there with this stuff. So I don't even sure how much legality is in these things right now. This is a top up thing. But I don't think that's the answer either. I don't think, and like tying NIL deals to this, they're just not going to take it. Like some school will provide one that does not include a bowl game just to get those players in to help them get to where they need to, and then they'll try it in the bowl. I don't think that's the answer. The big answer to all of this is college football in general needs to have leadership that looks at all of this. They need someone at the top. They need a commissioner that looks at the issues that are plaguing this sport. Because yes, this is not a just BC issue. I just watched Louisville play with their backup quarterback because Tyler Shugg is out for the bowl. All these other teams are all playing with backups. It's a crappier product. I'm going to tell you that. So they need somebody to look at this. They need someone to tie up NIL, to tie up scheduling in the playoffs, and they need someone to do all of that kind of stuff. I heard Nick Saban's name thrown around. Maybe he's a great one. I don't know. But if you're tired of watching players opt out, then maybe a commissioner can find a way to get around that, to find a way to get some consistency that allows players to not risk their NFL careers, also get financially paid, and make the games more enjoyable. Because I think that's what this is all about. Like, Nebraska had some opt-outs. BC, I think y'all know, if Donovan Azaraku and Ozzie Trapillo and Drew Kendall and Jack Conley played, coulda, shoulda, wouldas, they probably would have won, right? They probably would have won, but they didn't. They had opt-outs, and that's the way the cookie crumbles, and BC lost. So that's my thoughts on that. Now, in our final segment, I'm going to give you some thoughts on my predictions, as it's New Year's, and I want to talk to you about some of the things I think BC football is going to have happen to them in the next coming year. We'll get into that in just a moment. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. Give me that Zay Flowers money. It's thrilling. Not only can you bet on who will win the game, but they also have over-unders on yards thrown, rushing yards, sacks, so much more. You can find it all on FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Wrapping up things here at Locked On Boston College. This is our first episode of 2025. I've been doing this since 2020, excuse me. I love that each of you have made us your everyday first listen. Check out Locked On ACC if you want some more thoughts of what are they now, 2-10 ACC football bowl games. I'm sure Kenton and Alex have some real thoughts on that. Find it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Also, make sure you check out our Eagles Nest subtext program. I've been sending out videos. I've been doing lots of updates on that. You can check it out with a promo code of Bill O'Brien Monster. It's in the show notes. Sign up today. You get a free month. If you don't like it, you can cancel after that month. It's a great way to support the podcast, get more Boston College news, get more access to me. You could text me any question you want, anytime you want. I hope you guys check that out. The details are in the show notes. Try it out today. Good way to start off your 2025. Now, speaking of 2025, I have some predictions. And over on Eagle Insider, all of my staff writers, Mitch included, and we have, hockey blogger and Juliana Barrito, who covers our women's basketball, and Brandon Astreicher, who covers basketball. Got a whole bunch of stuff up there. We did our predictions for 2025. Now, yes, the 2024 season still is kind of going on, right? Like it goes until May, and then it's an academic calendar. But let's have some fun here, folks. It's 2025. The football season's over. I want to tell you some of my predictions for 2025, excuse me, and what I think is going to happen for BC football. I think going into the spring, the biggest question on everyone's mind is going to be Dylan Lonergan versus Grayson James. Everything I've heard is that it's going to be a battle, and the best player is going to win that starting job. And it's not guaranteed to be Grayson James. I think I'll be at practices this spring as long as they open them back up again. We'll be able to watch and see what happens. But my prediction going into the Fordham game, which is what starts next year, and I hate that we start with an FCS game. I wish that was later in the season so they could have a rest, but that's not what we're here for. But I think Grayson James is going to win the starting job. I think he has solidified himself as the starting number one. Dylan Lonergan's going to have some work to do. Maybe there's a part of his game that I just don't know about. But if I was to predict, I think Grayson James is going to start. That being said, I'm also going to predict that at some point during the season, Dylan Lonergan is going to start too. I don't know if it's an injury or a struggle or whatever, but he's going to get a chance to play in non-mop-up time, and we're going to get a chance to see what he can do. And what he is going to be the future Boston College quarterbacks. So that's my two predictions right there. Additionally, I think a lot of folks are gnashing their teeth about this. I think next year, Boston College's offensive line is going to be fine. I think they're going to be serviceable. They're going to allow Turbo Richard and Jordan McDonald to run the football. I think they're going to be fine. And they're going to run out a bunch of guys that you saw on Saturday's game, or some that you saw this year, some Saturday. Jude Bowery, Kevin Klein, Ryan McGow, Dwayne Alec, and Logan Taylor. Probably some combination of that. But additionally, I'm guessing they're going to probably end up with a transfer there too as well. They got Amir Johnson. He could battle, but I'm not sure he'll be ready yet. I think they're going to – I know some folks don't like what Matt Applebaum has done. But most of it, if you talk to the folks, people that listen to the show or people that hit me up on Twitter, the complaints about Matt Applebaum is his recruiting work. And I get that. I get it because I've seen him lose a whole bunch of recruiting battles, and that's tough. One thing he does excellent, and a reason why I think he still has this job, and I think he needs to keep this job, is he develops guys very well. Look at how much Kevin Klein came along from last year. Look how much Jack Conley has come in 2 years. He develops guys. He will develop a good offensive line. Ryan McGow, I think, is going to be a good addition. I think Jude Bowery, hopefully he can stay healthy. He will be fine. So that's my predictions. The offensive line will be fine next year. On the other end, I'm going to be a little bit more negative. I'm worried, and I think the defensive line is going to be a problem next year. You lose Cam Horsley, you lose Donovan Azaraku, and I love that they get these, guys that they hope they can develop, and maybe they do turn into something. But I'm concerned that there's not a guy on this defensive line. There's not a guy that you can point to and say that he's going to be the guy. Quintavious Hutchins, he certainly could jump into that. Owen Stodmeyer, Ty Clemens. There's guys that you can point to and say, oh, they could take a step up. But are they going to be the guy like Donovan Ezraku was last year or Cam Horsley that you had to defend against? I'm not sure they have that. I'm worried, and I think that is a prediction I have, is that the defensive line is not going to be very good next year. Additionally, let's get away from just the team. I'm not going to give you my predictions on scores yet, or records. That'll come out after they get the whole ACC schedule. I believe UConn is going to end up taking UMass's spot on BC schedule, which is tougher because UConn just won 9 games. But I think as well, I think that Boston College will land their first 4-star in 2025 under Bill O'Brien. And that class will be rated much higher than 2025. So that 2026 class, you look at a guy like Kai Pritchard from New Jersey. He's very high on Boston College. Has been up a whole bunch of times. He's a 4-star. There's Derek Zammit, a quarterback that they've looked at. 247 themselves don't have him as a 4-star, but their composite does. And I'm going to say my 4-star will be either on 247 or the composite. I don't use Rivals and I don't use ESPN. Sorry, I'm an employee at 247. They're my guys. So I think Bill O'Brien will do that. And finally, I predict Boston College will land at least one more transfer from a Power 5 team, either an offensive lineman or defensive lineman, hopefully both. And this will be someone we'll be talking about all summer and fall. There's been a couple names, especially on the edge rush. I saw a kid from UConn enter that I said, man, BC could use that kid. I hope they have the funds to go out and try to get that guy. This kid had the kid from UConn, I think, had like 10.5 sacks in the last 2 years. Like, you need that. And an offensive lineman, I know that they're looking around. I can see the activity of the staff. But hopefully it'll be a Power 5 guy. Like, I think my hope is they just added Mike Bumpus, which I love his name, a legacy whose dad played with Doug Flutie, who's an offensive lineman. He's a defensive lineman from Brown. I'm not expecting that to be like a huge deal. He's coming this summer too, so he's not like a guy that's going to be like battling to start. But I'm hoping that they've kind of slowed down on the FCS stuff. But we'll see. That's my predictions. Do you agree with me? What do you predict? Put them in the comment section. I want to hear what you're predicting for 2025. You could tell me basketball, hockey. Think they're going to get the Frozen Four? Do you think women's lacrosse is going to win the national championship again? Leave me the comments. I want to hear it. And make sure you like and subscribe, Locked On Boston College, so you get these shows every single day. My name's AJ Black. I enjoyed doing this. Happy New Year to each and every one of you out there. Thank you for listening, and thank you for making Locked On Boston College your first listen every day.